Hey, Kevin.
Hello, Rebecca.
Hey, Mel.
Hello, Rebecca.
Guess where we are?
It's a Readathon.
That's right. We are in the Readathon, and it was a huge day in the Karen Read trial. Day 9. We had, what, Mel, 4 witnesses today?
We started off with Knowles, and then we went into
Nagel, Maxon, and then McLaughlin. We had 5 witnesses today.
No, we had more. We had more because we also had Sarah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We had 6.
And Katie.
We had so many witnesses today. Anyway, I'm just going to, for comparison's sakes, Kevin, last trial, which I know you weren't that hooked into, there were many, many days where we would see like just 3 people over like 4 days. It was like so, because Lally was so slow and objected so many times. And this is just like moving. So,
Well, the judge doesn't want to waste people's time.
That's right. So I think the main events today were Katie McLaughlin and Gallagher, the cop who testified at the end. So why don't we quickly go through the other stuff and talk about some things there, but we will get to those. But first, I just want to note something that I told Kevin about that I'd been doing some research on, and I love your reaction to this, Mel. We were talking about Faraday bags the other day. What about airplane mode?
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it because I only think of airplane mode for when I'm actually on an airplane. And I think, okay, well, that just means that nobody can contact me. But I never thought about what it would mean for data recovery.
Right. And apparently the extraction log does not show when a phone is put in airplane mode or not. So it's a toggle switch. It's not an action, I guess. So, and apparently it is standard procedure when a cop takes a phone from somebody to immediately put it in airplane mode so that stuff doesn't happen to the phone's data in between them taking it and the police station. So something
Stuff
to think
coming
about.
in, stuff going out.
Oh, it's funny you should say that. That comes up later
But
today.
why did Brian Higgins go back to Canton PD?
I'm just saying, I'm putting it in another option.
No, I
there.
get it. I just want to know why he went back there.
We all do. We all do, Mel.
Yeah.
All right. So another thing I want to note is there was a seating change at the defense table today. I don't know if you noticed that. They have now placed Alessi between Yannetti and the O'Keefes. So now Karen has 2 people to her left instead of 1. And I hear this is because the O'Keefes made some noise at Yannetti on Friday. So these people can't stop.
I wonder if that had anything to do with that big sidebar where she dismissed the jury after lunch. If something, I feel like every time that happens, it has something to do with the O'Keefes, or I just can't believe the audacity of heckling her.
Yeah.
Like when they're 2 feet away from her.
Yeah. And it's like, and the judge is right there. It's not like they're doing it in secret.
I know.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's finish up with Knowles. This is the blood chemist from the Massachusetts State Crime Lab, Kevin. Flawless institution, right? Never had any issues there.
Never had an HBO documentary done about the way someone did drug testing.
One of my favorite documentaries. Yeah.
That being said, this woman seems lovely, totally legit. And I think that the nut of her testimony today, Kevin, was that, well, first of all, we saw that David Yannetti has clearly done OWI cases before because...
It's probably his bread and butter, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and he knew more than she did. And also, we should say that she's a sub.
Yes. She's a substitute witness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put me in, coach.
So basically, the gist of that was that she was taking a report from the hospital to do her math. And then, the math she was doing was based on serum. At the lab, they prefer to do whole blood because you don't know how much other stuff is in someone's blood, depending on how much they weigh, how dehydrated they might be, etc. But I think the big point he scored, and I was impressed by this because I think that this doesn't really matter that much, is that she could have been drinking after she got home to John's house.
And they were pushing that, I think.
Yes. Yeah. So, Kevin, there's some doubt about when she took her last drink. Thoughts?
I don't think it really means a lot to the crime, but I think it means something to the jury, as what we saw from downloading the information from the first jurors, that they spent a lot of time sort of at the end trying to figure out whether or not this was a drunk driving thing and how drunk that she was. So while it doesn't matter how much anybody had to drink when it comes to the, Chloe's teeth marks or whatever, do you think it's something that the jurors are going to think about? And also, especially if part of the charge has to do with that she was driving drunk.
Right.
I think that any of these attorneys have a lot of audacity pointing at any witness saying, but you were drinking.
Yes.
Everybody was drinking.
That's right.
It's just like, yes. And it's a terrible theme that runs throughout this entire story before, during, and after the crime.
Yes.
Well, and Yannetti made that point during his cross. He was like, well, do you know if Brian Albert had anything to drink that night? he went through the list, and the idea that there have actually been cops or troopas in this case who have lost their job because of drinking in their car. It's amazing to me that we're focusing on this so much. And they also brought up the fact that she has multiple sclerosis.
Right.
And how that can affect. But when I'm listening to this now, because of everything that's happened up until this point in this trial, if I'm sitting on the jury, who gives a shit?
Right, exactly.
I mean, honestly, at this point, it's like, who cares if she was drunk? Because if I'm the juror on this case, I'm already thinking she didn't hit him.
Right, right. And I think
based on what I've already heard.
Right.
Well, Mel, that's you.
That's right. That's right.
I know.
Yeah.
You're right.
They didn't call you or me or Rebecca, so.
But you know who they did call today?
I wish they had.
Who?
Ryan Nagel. You know who Ryan Nagel is?
Ryan
Kevin?
Nagel. I love Ryan Nagel. I have to say, I love this guy.
I gotta say, it's funny because there are people who know the case better than I do who say like he's not a good person. I don't care. There's something very like earnest about him on the stand. He now works at HVAC in Boston. He was in his early 20s when this all happened, and he's brother to Julie Nagel, who was in the house. And he went from the waterfall where he was drinking with his friends and girlfriend to 34 Fairview because she said she needed a ride. And then when he got there, and they didn't bring this up today, which surprised me, she texted him at 12:23. And she came out of the house and told him, do you want to come in? He said, nope. Good idea. Good call, Ryan.
He said he looked at Ricky Dentano and then he looked at his ex-girlfriend and they all were like, no.
Nice choice. I'm proud of your choices.
Oh my God. Yeah. Imagine how long he would have been on the stand if he had said yes.
Exactly. So they.
But he doesn't really have any skin in the game, right? I mean, that he's not like blood loyal to any party in this, right?
And that makes a difference.
His skin is in the game is to his sister, which he repeated over and over and over in his testimony, that his only concern was making sure she got out to the car okay and making sure that she got back into the house okay.
And he said she looked drunk. That was interesting.
Yeah, drunk. She was really, he said last year that she was really drunk.
How dare you drink in this story?
So interestingly,
Shame.
Kevin, the reason he's important is because he says that he wasn't driving. His friend Ricky was. They were driving down the road that turns onto Fairview, and Karen was coming the other way toward them, which to me indicates she either went a different way from downtown or she did a U-turn and came back.
That's where she did the U-turn. That's where she got lost.
Right. So apparently she
in the driveway
passed Fairview. Accidentally missed it, did a turn and came around. That was, by the way, the data, that turn was the data that last trial, the state says was when she hit him. But it's very clear that she passed it. She did a U-turn. So they were driving toward each other. Ricky had to make a left onto Fairview, I think. She had to make a right. And it was basically, he blinked his light so she could go. So she was ahead of them getting to Fairview, and they pulled up behind her on the right side of the road in front of 34 Fairview.
This is how the Commonwealth has put together their case over the course of these two trials. Karen Reed, in one of her first interviews after John died, she said, all I remember is I made a 3-point turn and blah, blah, blah. And then the next thing you know, the Commonwealth is using their, Troopa Paul to say, well, she made a 3-point turn and then she accelerated to this and then she reversed to this and blah, 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 blah. And none of that is true.
No.
What happened was she made a 3-point turn because she passed Fairview and she got lost. So the idea that they were using that information as solid evidence when it is literally not factual.
Right.
Should tell us everything we need to know about how they're putting together these cases.
Right. So, Kevin, Ryan Nagel says that the truck he was in, the Ford F-150, pulled up next to the mailbox at 34 Fairview, which interestingly is where everyone in the house says the Jeep was, and that Karen's car was about a car length in front of his. And when they were sitting there for about 5 minutes with him talking to Julie, they didn't see anybody get out of that car. They didn't see anybody on the lawn. They didn't see anybody going into the car. And then when they pulled away, the light was on inside her car, and she was sitting there by herself, looking forward with her hands on 10 and 2, and there was no one else in the SUV with her.
At the time when John should be on the lawn.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to back up her story that John got out and went in the house, and she waited for him. And this is a prosecution witness. So why are they calling somebody that's essentially refuting their case? Mel, is this because they realize that he's going to eventually be a defense witness, and they want to shape his story before the jury can have, it set up by Alan Jackson?
I don't know. It's a good question, Kevin. The way that I see it, I don't trust that the DA is that smart. I think that what they're doing a lot of similar things to what Lally did last time, which is just throw a bunch of people on there that can say, these people were drunk. This is the time this happened. And this is what we saw. But none of it matches.
Right.
Every single witness they bring up tells a different story.
Right.
And so I honestly don't know why they're bringing people like, I'm like, are they filling the space? Are they trying to confuse the jury? I don't know what it is.
Yes.
Well, I think,
honestly.
but it's also the reason why, Rebecca, why they feel like they have to put Proctor on the stand themselves and not let the defense do it, because I think to a lesser extent, to Proctor, it's a much greater extent that if they let the defense present the person, then they're immediately going to be like shown in the most favorable light to the defense. If they can get a crack at introducing the jury to a particular witness, they can first shape how they're viewed.
Right. And these are, by the way, these could be defense witnesses, these two witnesses. They absolutely could.
Yeah.
Right. But can't you imagine Jackson just going, and you said you didn't see that person, and that's, case closed.
And Brennan is actually doing that, what you're saying, Kevin, with a couple of other witnesses, troublesome witnesses. He did it with Jen McCabe, and he did it today with Katie, which we'll get into a little bit later. But in his direct, he's putting the shit he doesn't want everybody. He doesn't want Yannetti or Jackson to attack out there, but he's still not doing a very good job of it.
No, he's not. And I'll say his direct, he has a style that you texted me today, like, why is he screaming? He does a style thing where when he's worried about a witness, or when something is high stakes, or he's worried about how something's going to go, he's loud and he's fast. He really makes an effort to be quiet and slow, like a lot of the time, and then he slips and he becomes loud and fast again. And you can tell when he thinks he's on thin ice or less solid ground when he talks that way. It's very interesting.
And I'm pretty sure that Katie sniffs when she lies.
Oh, yeah.
She's got to tell.
Yeah, she has a tell.
All right, so the next witness we got, Kevin, was Heather Maxson. Heather was Ryan's girlfriend at the time. I can't tell you, this is the most appealing witness, I think, that we've had so far in this trial. Heather is objectively beautiful. I know you're not saying an objective word, but she is objectively beautiful. Grew up in Canton, but somehow doesn't have the weird accent. Don't know why. She just doesn't.
Because she's really not one of us.
No, but she was born and raised there, and her testimony absolutely matches Ryan's. They pulled up. Karen was alone in the car. They didn't see anybody else. Didn't see anybody in the lawn. Period. That was it.
Mel, Rebecca described this as somebody who is completely uninterested, which made her the most credible.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I find too, is these witnesses who are, that's why I kind of liked Ryan Nagel, because he has no skin in the game. The only time he ever got emotional was about his sister.
Yeah.
So when they're just like, yes, sir, no, sir, nope, that's what happened. It's like, and they don't argue the point, and they don't try to finagle their way out of something that's really simple. That's what's I hope the jury's seeing the differences between a Jen McCabe and a Heather Maxson, and the differences between a Ryan Nagel and a Katie
or a
Carrie
Nuttall. I think Ryan Nagel and Nuttall are very good analogs for each other. Dudes the same age, whatever. And Nuttall was so complicated, and Nagel was so simple. So,
Yep.
All right. Next up, Kevin, we had Sarah Levinson. Do you know who that is?
She was in the car with the McCabes.
Yes.
I'm just looking at your note. What?
She's a nurse.
Kevin, how do you not know this?
Yeah, she's a nurse. She's 26 now, so she was 23 then. She was at the party. She's best friends with Julie Nagel, and she and Julie were given a ride home by Matt and Jen McCabe at about 1:30 in the morning.
So was she at...
There was some interesting stuff here.
Yeah, was she at the bar?
She was at the house.
Yeah.
The house. So she was sort of the before party here with the quote-unquote kids.
I'll tell you, this party... I'm not throwing shade on this young Albert, but this party sounded super lame. A bunch of people arrived at 7 or 8, and then they just sat around talking about who else might come. And then 4 young women arrived, and then didn't stay long, and then left. And I'm not even talking about that.
Are you saying that the police use more solo cups than the people at this party?
Well, it sounds like they were drinking a lot, but it sounds like they weren't doing much more other than just sitting around drinking. They weren't like...
they were probably too scared to move because of Chloe.
That's true. Although Chloe wasn't there, and that was interesting because was it Julie that said she'd been to the Alberts 20 times, but I'd never met Chloe?
It was Sarah, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, the evidence shows that Chloe's a very shy dog.
That's right.
Very meek.
Yeah.
So a couple of interesting things happened, and Sarah... Oh, I just want to say one more thing about Ryan Nagel's testimony, which is not unimportant. He said there was no snow on the road. It was that point in a snowstorm where it had started accumulating on the grass a little, where you could still see the blades sticking up.
At what time, Rebecca?
12:23.
Thank you.
And this is important because Jen McCabe says she looked out the window and saw tire tracks in the
Snow.
Exactly.
Snow.
Right.
By the way, not to, again, bring everything to a screeching halt.
It's okay.
But when she says that she looked out the window,
yes.
Did she say that she went to the window pane?
Front door. Storm
and
door.
looked
Front
out.
door.
She didn't glance out.
No.
She looked out and she could tell you that their car was there, where they were parked, where they were sitting. And then she would walk away and text and say things like, pull up behind me. So she's talking directly to the people who are sitting outside.
Okay. Because in the middle of the night, what happens when you look out your window?
Right.
You just see your reflection back at
Well,
you.
yes.
Oh, it's a very
especially
good
if there's no light on the front lawn, which
Especially-
everyone says there wasn't.
But there was that big cone light in the street where the snow tracks were.
Exactly.
Right. So if she's like in the kitchen looking through that front window, all she's going to see is her own reflection. But if she went up to the window and could kind of peer through, adjust the focus so that you no longer see yourself staring back, then you'd be able to see what's outside. But again, you sort of need, if it's pitch black outside.
She went into such detail as to say she could see the Jeep, she could see Karen's truck, and then in her peripheral, although I don't remember how she said it, peripheral vision, she could see lights, which she assumed was Nagel's.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Nagel in the truck with Ricky Denton.
All right.
Ricky.
Okay.
I always think of the minor
Poor Ricky.
characters, those like 4 women who arrived and left. Ricky D'Anteno. I call them non-combatants because we don't really care about them. We don't know about them, but they were there, and they have stories about having been involved, sort of.
What do they call those in video games? Like computer-generated characters or something like
Sims?
Yeah, they're like the other people that are around. Yeah.
The background characters. All right. So Sarah Levinson, she did have some interesting stuff in her testimony. She sort of supported Jen McCabe's bread story a little. Jen McCabe said she had a loaf of bread on the back seat because she was with one of her nieces, I guess. And she had her niece was staying with her.
That's not what Sarah's saying.
Right.
Sarah's saying that Jen said she had the bread for the snowstorm.
Exactly. So there was contradictory sources of the bread, and they put it on the third way back seat, the bread. And
Chekhov's loaf of
Of course,
bread.
they have a third row.
Right. And of course they do, because she's got 4 kids, 2 of whom are adults. They need a third row.
Right. Yes.
So basically, she left the house out the front door with Julie. They were arm in arm, and she was looking at her shoes when they walked out. So if there had been a body there, she wouldn't have seen it, but she didn't see anything. But I thought her
Was she shuffling too?
Exactly.
Oh, it's my little canasta
I
bag.
thought the most
Canasta.
interesting thing she said, though, was about Matt McCabe.
Well, actually, I wanted to talk about a couple of things here because you and I talked about this the other day when I was bringing up that a woman would never park in front of the flagpole because she wouldn't want to walk across the lawn to get to the front door.
Right.
I think she's wrong about that because I think they all went in the side door because that's where they were parked. And I think they went out the side door, but she probably said the front door.
No, but they're insisting. Jen McCabe insists she went in the front door. Insists. And these guys insist they went out the front door. I don't know why, because Julie Nagel said they always go out the side door, but this time they went out the front door.
And can you imagine a Jen McCabe who's been to this house 500 times going in the front door?
I have a guess as to why they're saying it now.
Something to do with the garage?
It puts them farther away from the garage.
Yeah.
Okay, but the interesting thing to me that she said was about Matt McCabe. Do you want to tell Kevin what she said?
Yeah, so Matt goes in and out of the house twice. He walks, he forgot his jacket. So he gets he leaves the house, gets in the car with Jen and the girls, and then he goes, oh shit, I left my jacket. He gets out of the car, he goes back. He would be walking right past John.
Yes.
In the snow, basically.
Yes, and he didn't see him. So he had 4 chances to see him.
But that's why it's interesting to me when they keep saying they went out the front door, because there is the argument they could be trying to get away from the garage. But if they go out the front door, it puts them closer to John.
Right. It's very strange. It's all very, very strange. Yeah. So the other thing about these people that you need to know is that they were not interviewed for 9 months.
Yeah.
The first time that Sarah says she was interviewed was October of 2022. Actually, they know that's the first time she was interviewed. So that was the...
But I remember looking at my feet.
Exactly. She remembers that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because she has to look at her feet, because if she's not looking at her feet, she's looking at John.
That's right.
Yeah.
Who isn't there.
That's right. So that was the nut of her testimony.
Did she walk around her house like with those socks with the things on the bottom so they don't slip, like in the hospital?
Like hospital socks? Yeah.
Okay.
Who knows?
Yeah. I bet when she falls on her knuckles like Iron
Just
Man
one
too.
knuckle. Boom. Yeah.
So next up, we had Katie McLaughlin. This
Katie
got
McLaughlin.
beefy. Do you know who Katie McLaughlin is?
Isn't that the paramedic?
Yes.
The one who, I guess, I hit him, that statement originated with her.
She's the I hit him truther.
Right.
I think is the best way to put it.
Right.
And man.
And she reported that not at the time of the incident.
And
it
she
was
didn't write
much
it
later.
down, and she didn't tell anybody.
She didn't even write it on her glove, which, whoa, that's something I learned today.
The other paramedic, Nuttall, who says he heard it, and the other paramedic, they said they heard Flamati. They said they heard it way after she said she heard it. Now, she didn't say she heard it right away. Keep that in mind.
Right.
But Flamati said it like 10 days after she said it.
Right.
So
which was also after Jen and Carrie got together and made their timeline.
This was long after that.
After that. Yeah. Right.
But yeah, so essentially.
Yeah, because Mrs. O'Keefe told them to.
Yes. So essentially, the other thing that she said about Nuttall was that he was in the ambulance with the door closed. She shows on the video when she thinks Karen said, I hit him, because she got the video played for her like 5 times. What did you think about McLaughlin? What were your impressions?
She was coached, and I am starting to think they were coached by the same person, and that same person would be Hank Brennan and not their individual lawyers, because they're saying the same things and they're answering in the exact same way with the same words at this point. And I just think that, again, some of these questions they're being asked are not difficult questions to answer. And they're not going to blow the whole case up. And they're not going to make these two women, they're not going to put them in a spot of being guilty themselves. And they're fighting every single time. And it makes it draw on. And I think the jury is probably I'm hoping they're catching on to it at this point. And they're starting to see the difference in the witnesses. But the people who are really nervous about
being caught,
giving Jackson being caught are really the ones who are fighting over simple things. And then there's also the issue with Jen McCabe and Katie McLaughlin. Jen McCabe tried to bring harassment into it and she got shut down by Bev like that. Today, I was really shocked they let this go because I feel like the door's open now.
He wanted to let it go for a specific reason. So here's what happened,
Tell
Kevin.
me the reason, because I didn't understand
this is the reason. Katie McLaughlin was caught in a big lie in trial 1, okay? She said that she was asked by Jackson, do you know Caitlin Albert? And she said, I went to high school with a girl named Caitlin Albert. That was her answer.
With a girl.
The most ridiculous answer.
And then they were able to sort of root around in social media, and they found a bunch of photos of Katie McLaughlin and Caitlin Albert together at baby showers, on vacations, on weekends away.
Jesus.
Oh, yeah. They're like this.
Oh, and a new one today. Do you remember the new one that we didn't hear last trial?
Which one was that?
That Katie McLaughlin's best friend was Caitlin Albert's roommate.
That's right.
And Katie McLaughlin used to go spend the night over at Caitlin Albert's house.
At her house with her roommate.
And they're not friends.
You know, she was answering that so literally, it made me think maybe they're not friends today.
Maybe not.
But so anyway, so basically the way the harassment comes into it is he says, when did you tell the DA that you knew Caitlin Albert? And she said,
yeah, that's right.
I told him because I was being harassed. He said, no, I'm talking about before trial 1. And she said, no. It was online before trial 1. It was not. It came out in trial 1, and then Turtle Boy wrote about it, and then it went viral, and then people were talking shit about her online. So his whole point was he let her talk about the harassment because the harassment shows that she's lying, because she would not have been harassed until trial 1, and she says she was being harassed before trial 1.
This is Jackson who let that happen.
This was Jackson.
See, I read that differently.
Yeah.
I actually read that differently. I believed what she was saying for a second. I'm a little confused about it, but I feel like what she was saying was, I think she was insinuating that Turtle Boy had information about her and Caitlin, leaked it to the defense. Somebody in the defense and or Turtle Boy then leaked that before the trial started. So her harassment started before the trial, and it was made worse by when she testified.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not, but that's how I read that.
Well, I think that he was saying that it did not start before the trial. So I don't know. I think that's
Turtle
why
Boy.
he let it meant. No, Jackson was saying it did not start.
Okay.
But couple of interesting things out there about Katie McLaughlin's testimony. She doesn't know what gesticulating means. And by the way, I would never make fun of somebody for not knowing a word.
I know,
but that
I know.
was funny. It was a funny moment.
Because he was doing it while he was saying
He's
the
like,
word.
was she gesticulating wildly? And she's like, what do you mean? And he's like, do you not know what the word gesticulating means? No, I don't. It was funny. I said what I'm saying is it's funny the way it came out.
Yeah.
Not funny that. And also Brennan mispronounces everybody's name, says every word wrong. He introduced Heather Maxon as Heather Maxon. Like he cannot talk. It's very, very strange.
He said, could you estimate?
Estimate, yes.
That one really got me.
Right.
Estimate. And then he says Lar, of course. Lar.
My favorite thing that all these Massachusetts people say is the word area. Could I say Arier?
Arier.
Was
yeah.
it? Does that have people in your family?
It's the adding the R when it's not supposed
the
to. The
Arier around the flagpole.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah.
Soder. Yep.
So more Katie McLaughlin. She said she took no notes when Karen told her. After Karen said, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him," and then she's seen on video doing this.
He's like, well, what are you doing with that pen in your hand? What are you writing on if you're not taking notes? And she was like, oh, you mean when I was writing on my glove? And he's like, wait, what? So apparently, this is something I learned today. This is new to me. Apparently, EMTs, first responders, when they're wearing, because I was like, how's she writing on her glove in the snow? But she was wearing a latex glove. She must have had a Sharpie or something. And she's writing down basically the pertinent information, the victim's name, if he has any allergies, how old he is. But one pertinent thing or a few pertinent things that she didn't write down were Karen Reed saying, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
Right. Right.
Or that anybody hit him, or that anything happened in that way.
And he was like, what do you mean she hit him? Did she hit him with a snowball? Did she hit him with her fist? Like, what, did you ask any follow-up questions? And it was like, no. Yep. And she claims that Jen McCabe was screaming at Karen to shut up and stop talking.
Yes.
And she was saying, so
Jen was trying to help Karen.
Yes.
Apparently.
We all know
Don't
that.
incriminate yourself, Karen.
Yeah, exactly.
You know how helpful Jen McCabe
Wait
could be.
till 9 a.m. when I plan on telling the cops that I heard you say this thing that you didn't say.
We can make a timeline together.
But I won't say I hit him. I will say, did I? Could I have hit him? That's what she said that morning to the cops.
And Katie was doing that thing again. I mean, she did it throughout her whole testimony where she was just obfuscating the whole time. But one of the things that I noticed was that she had a really hard time saying that John was on the lawn. She didn't want to use that word. So she would say up off the side of the road instead of saying the lawn. He was up off the side of the road. Yeah. And I was just like, why? If she can't say lawn, like that word is really triggering for her. And then that sort of leads into, I put this in here. You didn't highlight it, but I wanted to talk about it really quickly because it really stuck out to me. And maybe I missed it in the last trial. But when they asked her how John was positioned up off the side of the road, she said that he was head facing her.
Head facing.
That can't be right.
Nope.
Did she mean face up?
No, his head was toward her body.
No, she meant his head was closest to her. She literally said, I have to read it really quick. She said that his head was closest to her. And I've seen the pictures or the diagrams of John's feet being closest to her.
But we don't really know, as we learned later.
Well, that's the thing. And if he were hit by a car, that would make more sense that he would have fallen back up off the side of the road.
Did anyone say when they tried to give mouth to mouth that they turned him around?
No.
No.
They couldn't have.
Yeah,
they couldn't have.
You wouldn't do that. Yeah, because of neck injuries.
So his head was closest to her. That doesn't make any sense to me.
She says that she called in a cop, or she told someone to go get a cop when Karen said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. And then she was like, you should ask Seraph, another cop on the scene. And he said, oh, we will.
That was a good part.
He said, you should talk to Seraph. And I think he said, no, we have. And I think what Seraph did not hear the I hit him, I hit him, I hit him thing. So
it went back and forth. She said, I don't know, you should probably talk to Seraph. And he's like, oh, we have. And she said, good, you should.
It was so weird.
I was like,
okay. It was very, very strange.
Sound like somebody who's friends with an Albert.
That's right. So a couple other things I want to mention. Kevin's always asking what the jury thinks, and the only person who's reporting what the jury thinks is Sue O'Connell.
Sue O'Connell.
And she said...
she's with the Boston Globe, right?
No, she's with a TV station.
Oh, okay.
She's with a local... I used to listen to her on like the local NPR.
She's on TV now, and she does Canton Confidential, whatever, CB.
Yep.
She's
had her own show for a long time.
That's the NBC affiliate.
Yeah, so she's...
Channel 10.
She's doing that, and so she's commenting. She's not doing reporting. She's doing like how the jury, and she said that during this McLaughlin testimony, especially when she was talking about not remembering specific things about trial one, about knowing that a juror had their hand covering their mouth, which I think she said was the same juror who did that when Jen McCabe was asked, do you know that Carrie Roberts said last week that that she didn't hear Karen say, can you do the Google search? Right. This juror was like reacting to
not stifling a yawn. But
she said overall the jurors are very attentive. There's one juror who she said tends to look around the courtroom instead of at the lawyer but she said that doesn't mean they're not paying attention. She said this jury is way more attentive than jury one.
They certainly sound more animated.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the trial's much.
Yeah, they sound like they're watching a tennis match.
Yeah,
for sure.
The trial's way more interesting.
So Mel, that juror has got to make sure she doesn't go to the American Legion or go out in public, any place where someone else could come up with a reason to get her kicked off the jury.
Yeah, or to sit on the bench outside of D&E or CF McCarthy's or Waterfall, because apparently they have a camera set up focused on this one bench outside of the restaurants. And this juror was sitting on that bench, and we've been trying to figure out if there's audio from that camera, and that's why she was pulled.
Yeah. Well, I heard she said it in an American Legion. Yeah, she was asked if she had talked to someone in an American Legion bar. Which, by the way, good for her for going to the American Legion bar. I mean, beer's a buck there, right?
Yeah. And when Judge Cannoni asked her, did this happen? She said, I don't know. I was drinking.
At the American Legion.
Like everybody else in this trial. I was drinking.
Ask beer at the American Legion's $2 because that's why people join the American Legion.
That's right. Yeah. So question, Melanie, how do you think Judge Cannoni was treating the defense today during the McLaughlin testimony versus the prosecution? Today was very stark.
It was. And there were a lot of things that happened during the cross with Bev for some reason. And I will say she was being really hard on the defense. She was just completely ignoring some things. She was interpreting Jackson's questions and asking them herself again, which she can't do that.
She rejected a request for a sidebar.
So here's the thing. I was listening, Brennan was objecting. He was really on top of
about
it
the photos.
The beginning.
About the photos too.
About the photos, yeah. And then he said at one point, he objected like 3 or 4 times in a row. She sustained all of it, but then he asked for an instruction and she just ignored him and kept going. Yeah. I don't know if you noticed that, but he just was like, she cut him off in the middle of, he was basically saying, I'd like an instruction, and she cut him off in the middle of that.
Right.
And then just kept it moving. It was so strange.
It was weird because he had brought Caitlin's friendship with Katie into play. So Jackson was trying to introduce the fact that there were all these photos of them together, and it was like objection. Right. But he's the one who opened the door for it. So I don't know. It seemed like it was a little bit heavy-handed.
He opened the door and then he was objecting, but then she's doing that thing. I'll say this about Bev and the defense. She doesn't do this to everyone else. She mostly does it to Jackson.
Right.
She hates
him. Really
and I can't figure out what it is. I don't know if it's because he's like some hot
lied.
Shot,
she
LA
hated
lawyer.
him before
I don't know if it's...
She was predisposed to think he lied because she already hated him.
Yeah.
It's pretty clear.
I think that's true. And I think, I'm like, does this have something to do with Weinstein? Like, what is this, like, hatred she has specifically toward him?
Yeah.
It's very strange.
So was he able to get these photographs in?
No.
Okay. It's photographs of whom?
Caitlin Albert and Katie McLaughlin together at parties at events, but he was able to talk about them.
Sure, right. But when Katie is in, can he not try it again? Because there are two people in those photos. Caitlin, right?
Yeah.
The other person in the photo.
Again.
Right?
He can try it again.
Because it'd be interesting, you say, oh, isn't this the paramedic that we heard from,
My question is, if Brennan introduced it, why is he fighting it so hard?
Right.
He got ahead of it, and now he's like, no.
Exactly.
So he got ahead of it in direct and said, you knew Caitlin. She wasn't just someone you went to school with. You went to, and he listed off all the things that Alan Jackson was going to list off and show pictures of. Right. And then he's not allowing those, and then Bev's backing it up. None of it makes sense.
Right.
Why is he fighting so hard?
Is there anything else you'd like to say about Katie McLaughlin before we move on?
There's another Albert you've spoken to. That whole Kevin Albert thing,
yes.
I think would have been very, very, very troublesome for the jury. I don't think they would understand what happened. I think I understand.
He can ask Proctor this question, though. He can. Because Proctor is the reason he knows about this.
Do you hear my dog snoring?
It's okay. She's a part of the podcast now. So Kevin Albert, she was interviewed by the state police. Katie McLaughlin was.
Yep.
Well, she got a call to say they wanted to interview her.
And Kevin Albert is the one who called her to arrange that interview.
Kevin Albert, brother of Brian and Chris, and a Canton police officer.
And she is refusing
and
to admit.
drinking buddies of Michael Proctor. Yeah.
She's refusing to admit that she ever spoke to anyone on the Canton Police Department about her state police interview.
Especially in
Albert. It's really weird because I think they have proof that happened.
Are there records?
Well, and what they have proof because Proctor put it in his notes. He says, here's what we said to her in our interview. Did Kevin Albert contact you to set this up?
Yes.
And I think she says yes. And on the stand, she is adamant that she's never spoken to a Kevin Albert and she's never spoken to anyone from Canton.
Yeah.
To me, that's just showing the jury again, her main focus is don't connect me to the Alberts. Don't connect me to Canton. Right. Because the only two people who have said, I hit him for sure are Jen McCabe and Katie McLaughlin.
That's right. Final thing about Canton that I just want to say, it must be fucking awesome to live there because no one ever leaves.
Seriously?
Nobody ever leaves. It must be the greatest
I lived in Canton
town
for 47 years.
It must be the greatest town in the entire world. So something interesting happened after the lunch break. There was a defense requested sidebar, and then it was a long one. And then Bev dismissed the jury for 10 minutes. And then when she brought them back, she said, "I'm so sorry. I hate to waste your time," which made me think she felt like her time had been wasted with whatever it was she had to deal with.
Well, what does that communicate to the jury?
That the defense wasted your time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right. So moving on to, I thought it was going to be Katie McLaughlin, but now we have this guy, Gallagher, Paul Gallagher. He was in the Canton Police Department for decades, 32 years. He retired in August of last year.
Right after the trial?
Everybody is retiring. Everybody is retired because of this case or around this case.
Dying.
There's so many openings, so they're dying.
Yeah. So he was the head officer at the scene. He was not there first. So he never saw John O'Keefe's body. He heard about where John O'Keefe's body was from Link. And then he's the one who got a leaf blower because he thought there might be stuff there. And he had someone videotape him using the leaf blower because he thought, I want to be able to answer questions about why I used a leaf blower. I got to be honest. I did not dislike this guy. He was hapless. He was sweet. He talked about bringing...
I did not like this guy.
Okay, but listen to this, Kevin. He talked about bringing his personal camping tent from his house to scenes to be able to put over bodies for dignity's sake. And I'm like... Your personal fucking tent? You just bring that places and like...
Wait, your personal tent doesn't have a floor?
I guess not. He has a personal tent that he brought there. He didn't use it because John wasn't there anymore. But that was his plan. I'm like, that's like contamination. This guy's the contamination king. But what was fascinating was they showed the video of him leaf blowing, which I'd really recommend people watch because he's blowing the snow away. It's coming away almost like
and all the evidence.
Archaeology. You see little bits of things, black things like flying away. I'm like, what the fuck is that flying away? You actually see things flying away.
And sure.
You see like fabric pieces or whatever. It was really weird. And then he uncovers these blood drops. He uncovers the drinking glass, which I really want to talk about. And then Brandon says, "What's that right there?" And he says, "That's the ground. That brown spot is the ground." Notably, what he does not ever uncover is any one of 47 bright red taillight pieces.
Notably.
They weren't there.
I think maybe he could have been standing on top of them because he was standing on the crime scene on top of the snow.
That's true.
Could be standing on top of them.
Well, wouldn't they argue that if that's where that collision happened, that those broken pieces would be at the point of collision? Right? Unlike a body that would get knocked and there'd be other momentum, the place where the impact had would be where one would,
Those plastic pieces were everywhere, though. They were everywhere.
But why would they travel from the street 15 feet into the lawn with John?
They wouldn't.
I don't see how that would happen.
And then on top of that, if you want, I guess you could make an argument that when the plows came by, they plowed those pieces up.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's still not at the scene. That's why if they were actually finding pieces of taillight, which I don't believe they were, but if they wanted to make an argument for it, the plow is the best way to say that happened. But the Commonwealth doesn't really want to say the streets were plowed because then that introduces Lucky Law.
That's
and they don't want to do that.
They don't want, So this was an interesting thing. He talked about going across the street to his superior's house, which we didn't want to come on the scene, which was a weird moment that we didn't get a full explanation of yet, to get and solo cups. I don't know. He actually said he doesn't know where the Stop and Shop bags came from, to be fair. But that's where he got the solo cups to collect the blood evidence. He described at one point, DNA as being, quote, resilient. He said that Stop and Shop bags were exactly the same as evidence bags. I don't think any of this is that important, honestly.
Except evidence bags haven't carried cans of peaches.
Exactly.
And
held by other people.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
Or dog treats that have pork in them.
Exactly. In a very dramatic moment, Hank Brennan brings out this big cardboard box covered with red masking tape, has him put on a pair of purple nitrile gloves, take a knife, open the box, and then pull out a paper bag that's also sealed with red tape, open that, and then pull out half a cocktail glass that's it's heavy.
And he literally went like this.
Literally.
With the cocktail glass to everybody in the courtroom.
Your dog is loving all of this, by the way. The theatrics are definitely translating. No, it's fine. So this is a question I have. You saw this glass, Mel. This is a thick highball glass, right?
Yeah.
Do you think it's more likely that a glass would break in the manner we saw, literally half, jagged, on the ground, even if it were cold? or on a hard floor?
I would say on a hard floor, but I would also say this. I still don't understand how in either story, defense or prosecution, the glass stayed with John.
I think they just moved it out there, honestly.
I agree. I agree. I mean, but then I had questions about the blood droplets too, because this is something that's always bothered me. He did have a large, a large stain of blood under his head. But where did all of these droplets come from that were buried in the snow? The only things that I can think of is their, breathing spatter. Maybe he was breathing a little bit.
His arm?
Or his arm. But in order for them to be droplets in the snow, he would have to be raised above the snow for that to happen. Which means he had to have been carried.
They weren't smears. You could clearly see them emerge from the snow, and it was these
They are droplets of snow.
Drops
which means
of
blood has to drop from a height to get there.
Was there indication that he had blood in his lungs?
We do know that.
He didn't have any injuries down here, though, right?
No, but when Karen tried to give him CPR,
she
blood
said
came out of his mouth.
She said there was blood in his mouth. That's right.
But they weren't finding these blood droplets until they started snow blowing these layers off.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they were just sitting underneath.
Right.
And I'm like, I mean, I don't want to bring blood spatter analysis into it because I don't think it's a perfect science. But we all know that if you cut your finger and you're standing up and it's dropping, that's coming from a height. If he had injuries to his arm is lying in the snow, there should be blood in the snow from those cuts.
If he's on his back,
Right.
If he's on his back. And the head wound obviously would be a pool or a puddle. Those blood droplets have always been wrong to me.
Yeah.
Something is off there. And then the idea that they just scoop them up in contaminated snow.
Without taking any photos. It was just that video of the stuff.
How many people had walked in that snow around John that morning?
A lot of people. You know what?
A lot of first responders.
The blood droplets could have been from Karen giving him CPR and then spitting on the ground. It wasn't necessarily from him. It could have been from her.
It was just so shoddy.
What was weird was he kept saying we didn't know it was a homicide scene at the time, but they sure were treating it like a crime scene with the bags, the leaf blower. Why were they collecting anything if they didn't think it was a crime scene?
That was one of the notes that I made because it was so funny to me that basically what Gallagher said was, well, the state police weren't responding, so I just decided to start working the scene. For what reason? He was basically like, we wanted to figure out what happened to John, so I just started doing. But that's not his job.
Right.
But he's a go-getter. That kind of fits into everything you just told me
leaf
about.
Blowers.
Okay, when I say I don't
he's gonna
hate
go.
him,
He's
hapless.
It's his day off. I'm gonna get the tent.
He's a hapless dude. He's a hapless guy.
I don't think he is. I completely disagree.
Okay, maybe he's not. But I'll tell you, if I was a juror, I'd be like, oh, this is an earnest, stupid guy. So Kevin,
really?
I don't know. But my favorite moment was when Jackson said, tell me about writing the report that you wrote after you were on the scene.
Yeah.
What do you think his answer was?
I don't know.
I didn't write a report.
Okay.
That wasn't my job.
Yep. Was my
I
job.
always had to make sure a report was written.
Okay.
So Lank, Seraph, Mulaney, and Good all wrote reports, but he did not. And then after the Canton police were, quote, recused, what did he do, Mel?
After the Canton police were recused, he went ahead and got together with Michael Proctor and went back out to the scene with him. I think this was probably after Chief Berkowitz had already gone out to the scene and found more taillight.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
This is after recusal.
Yeah. So this is like,
I guess you can't like gesticulate what recusal is.
No, you can't. So what do you think about? So you don't think Gallagher is hapless and clueless and thinks he knows more than he does? You think he's an active bad guy in this?
I don't think he's an active bad guy. I will say that. What I think is he is protecting the police.
Yes.
Again.
Well, yes.
I think he's protecting their work. Every time he talked about the snowblower, he talked about it in a way that he was so proud of it.
Yes.
Like he was so proud of what he had
In
done.
a police audit, they called it innovative.
Right. I know. And he was like, I mean, they said, well, how did it work? And he was like, it was amazing. It was amazing. You wouldn't believe it. And I was just like, come on, buddy.
We're all taking snowblowers now.
I know. The idea that they are selling so hard. A lay person knows that you don't scoop up drops of blood in the snow with red Solo cups, and then you don't put it in a paper bag from Stop and Shop, and that you don't bring a snowblower out to the scene, and that you don't bring your own personal tent, and that you don't walk all over a crime scene. Everybody's watched CSI. Everybody has watched Law and Order or something like that.
Yeah.
They all know this is all wrong. And so now you've got a police officer sitting there telling you, Oh, it was it was great. We found so much stuff.
You know why,
Look at this
Mel?
glass.
Because there was a
Like,
meticulous evidence log of all of it. Just kidding. No, there wasn't. There was no evidence log. That came up today, too. Yeah, so we're not finished with him. He's going to come back tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
And it's going to be more cross-examination. But notably, he wasn't interviewed or spoke to anybody about his work on this case until guess when?
I don't know.
April of 2024.
2024.
So like
last year.
Like weeks before the first trial?
Right before the first trial.
Right before the first
was
time.
when he said,
I didn't even remember him.
I wasn't interviewed. I had a meeting. That's what he said.
I had a meeting.
He was
with a snowblower.
He was in the last trial. I don't remember him.
I don't particularly remember him, but I think he was. Because I saw some people on Twitter going, oh, here comes Mr. Captain Leaf Blower again. Like he had a lot of interesting
because he had to be the one. If he was the one to find the glass, he would definitely.
Yes, but I don't remember there being this moment in the trial last time. Do you?
Well, I mean, I don't remember there being videos of behind the scene footage.
Let me tell you, it was very clear to me that Brennan wanted this to be the front page photo tomorrow. Him holding this.
Yeah, when you said that, I was like, oh, absolutely.
Yeah, he wants this to be the front page photo of this copy looking guy. One of the only cops we've seen except Guarino testifying, who has hair, by the way, doing this in his purple nitrile glove, holding the evidence in the air. I think that's what he wants.
It's the OJ in the glove moment.
Yes, exactly. So that was mostly what happened today. Do you have any final thoughts, Mel?
I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Honestly, I keep saying this every time you ask me this question. I'm sitting here just jonesing for Higgins and Albert to take the stand.
Higgins.
I'll be honest with you. Based on your theory and what we've been talking about, I can't stop thinking about it. And now everything that comes up, I'm able to tie it into the theory.
It's like the owl theory in the Michael Peterson case. It makes sense.
Ooh, that's one of my favorite theories.
It makes sense.
Does it make sense to you? Oh, good. It makes sense to me.
It's the only thing that makes sense, right, Kevin?
Owl theory, yes.
Yeah. I mean,
not in this case. I will say...
Maybe it was an owl that did this.
I will say we've had a lot of engagement on TikTok and other places, and so I kind of go in, and unlike our usual posts where people talk about how stupid we are, everybody talks about how stupid each other are.
Great.
And and I just kind of like, let them do it, because whatever the algorithm loves it, I don't know, it just sucks up the hate. There's one person who posted, no, I think she hit him, and then Chloe ran outside and it bit him.
Bit the body.
And I'm like, and I had to respond saying, that is the dumbest thing I have heard in any thread. Talk about Deus Ex Machina. Like, how can we explain all of this?
Right.
It all still happened this way.
Right. Chloe,
someone let the dog out.
Chloe
herself.
was hidden all the time because apparently you can go to their house 20 times and never see the dog. They never let the dog around people. She was a
Malinois.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and she attacked one arm of an unconscious man for no fucking reason.
That's right.
And then went back in the house.
She was hungry.
Did you hear that on Court TV, Kevin?
I did not hear that on Court TV.
That's the kind of thing you would hear on Court TV.
I wouldn't be surprised if you did.
Yeah.
Speaking of, before we go, is there any chance we can get a glimpse of your very vicious attack dog?
This one, the one that's sleeping and snoring.
Yes, and we've been hearing the whole show.
Come here, Ribs. Oh, everybody wants to say hello.
Look at that.
Oh, wow.
She's a cutie.
This is Ruby.
Yep.
She was a backyard breeder dog, and we adopted her last year. And not to get too graphic, but when we adopted her, she's snoring right into the microphone. When we adopted her, they had named her Dolly because she has gigantic nipples.
Oh, poor thing.
So she was named Dolly Parton, but now we've named her Ruby.
I'll say she breathes just as hard into the mic as Katie McLaughlin did when she got nervous today.
That's right.
Katie McLaughlin's breath. I'm telling you, that's a tell, man.
Yeah.
My dog,
nervous.
when he gets upset or nervous, he starts to. That's what Katie McLaughlin did. I'm not saying she's a dog. I'm saying it was a real tell. All right.
And right before I think she lied, she would go.
As one does. No. All right, Mel, thank you so much for joining us for this edition of the Readathon. Kevin, thank you too.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Kevin. It was nice to see you.
Partners in Crime Media.